I'm Frances. Standing in the deserted restaurant, the soft jazz music that was supposed to be the backdrop for celebration now felt like a mocking echo. The voicemail from my dad hit me like a freight train before the candles on the centerpiece even melted. "We're in Barcelona," he said, laughing as if it were the funniest joke in the world. "We just wanted to keep you busy." The room spun around me. I'd spent months tirelessly preparing for this night. The balloons, carefully chosen and inflated to perfection, now hung limply. The exquisite cake I designed, a masterpiece of flavors and decorations, sat untouched. Each chair at the table I'd reserved for my family stared back at me, empty, a cruel reminder of those who never intended to show up. I was frozen in place, my phone vibrating in my numb hand. Their laughter, echoing from across the ocean, felt like a knife stabbing at my heart. 3 months of my life, my hard-earned savings, and all the trust I'd placed in my family were gone in an instant. But I didn't scream. I didn't call back. I just stood there, feeling the weight of betrayal. Looking back, I grew up in Savannah, Georgia, a charming town where everyone knew each other, and family was supposed to be the most important thing. I was always the reliable one in my family. My parents, Victor and Amelia, were well known in the community. My father was a successful lawyer, and my mother was involved in local charity events. They were respected, but to me, they often seemed more focused on their public image than on me. I worked as a marketing coordinator at a small local firm, dealing with spreadsheets and client presentations for 8 hours a day. But after work, I'd spend another few hours trying to make everyone around me happy. My parents said it was my duty to help out, but I was just trying to keep the family together. 4 months ago, my younger sister, Isabella, turned 15. It was a significant milestone in our family, and I saw it as an opportunity to make her feel special and maybe finally get some recognition from my parents. So, I dedicated myself wholeheartedly to planning the perfect party. I found a beautiful waterfront venue with twinkling fairy lights and a gentle sea breeze. I hand-crafted every invitation, folding them into little boats to match the nautical theme. I spent a large portion of my savings on decorations, from seashells to blue and white streamers, because Mom said Isabella loved the ocean. During my lunch breaks at work, I'd frantically call the event planner, whispering about menu details while my boss gave me dirty looks. "Get back to work, Frances," he'd bark. I'd quickly apologize, feeling guilty for caring so much. At home, my bedroom turned into a party planning headquarters. Streamers were tangled around my desk, and sticky notes with ideas covered every available surface. I spent hours looking through old photos of Isabella, from her first beach trip to her clumsy attempts at riding a bike. I printed and framed them, creating a beautiful memory wall for the party. Mom would often come into my room, looking over my shoulder. "Isabella might like a bigger cake, maybe with a mermaid on top," she'd say, tapping her perfectly manicured nails on my event budget. Dad would text me daily, "Don't spare any expense. This is a big day for her." But they never offered to contribute financially. And I never asked. I was used to fixing problems, funding their dreams, and forgiving their neglect. When I asked Isabella for her opinion on the party plans, she just replied, "Cool. No thank you, no excitement." I told myself it was just a teenage thing, but deep down I started to wonder if they only noticed me when I was useful. The night before the party, I packed all the decorations, the photo frames, and the party favors into my car. I imagined the look on Isabella's face when she walked in, the laughter and the joy. I hoped that, just maybe, this would be the moment when my family finally saw me. The next morning, Mom called. Her voice was brisk and business-like. "Don't forget to double-check everything with the venue. Isabella's counting on you." Those words, which used to make me feel proud, now just made me exhausted. Little did I know, they weren't counting on me at all. They were just using me to keep me occupied. The week leading up to Isabella's birthday was a nightmare. Every time I thought I'd done enough, Mom would find something else to change. "The flowers should be real, not fake," she'd say. Dad would chime in, "Get a better DJ. This is a once-in-a-lifetime party." Each demand meant more money out of my pocket. At work, my concentration was shot. I'd sneak calls between client meetings, trying to finalize all the arrangements. My boss noticed my distraction. "If you're so focused on your sister's party, maybe you should take a leave," he said, his tone cold. The humiliation stung, but I just forced a smile. On the day before the party, when I came home exhausted, Isabella was lying on the couch, scrolling through her phone. "I'm almost done with your party plans," I said softly. She didn't even look up. "Cool," she replied, the word feeling like a brick hitting me in the face. Mom was in the living room, looking at travel brochures. "Shouldn't you be helping me with the final touches?" I asked. She just smiled and said, "You're better at this than me, honey. I trust you." But that trust felt more like a burden. At dinner, they started talking about flights, hotels, and tourist attractions. Not for Isabella's party, though. I caught a glimpse of a conversation about Barcelona. I looked up, but Mom quickly changed the subject. "Don't forget to call the florist tomorrow," she said in a hurry. My gut tightened, but I dismissed it. Maybe they were talking about a local Spanish restaurant. I still had that naive faith in them. The night before the event, I stayed up late, putting the final touches on the centerpieces. I sent a group text to Mom, Dad, and Isabella to confirm the time. No reply. I told myself they were busy. The next morning, Dad called. "Everything ready?" he asked. "Yeah," I replied. "Can't wait for you guys to see it." He paused for a moment, then said, "Good job, kiddo," and hung up. It didn't sound proud. It sounded like the end. At work that day, my coworker, Lily, noticed how tired I looked. She brought me a cup of coffee and said, "You know, sometimes the people we do the most for take us for granted." Her words hit me hard. That evening, as I stood in the beautifully decorated venue, waiting for my family to arrive, I started to feel a sense of unease. By 6 p.m., everything was perfect. The soft sound of the waves outside, the twinkling lights, and the gently swaying streamers. But there were no new messages on my phone. Isabella was supposed to be here on time, and my parents promised to be early. I texted them again. "I'm here. Can't wait to see you." No response. The DJ started to look nervous, and the waitstaff around me were watching me with pity in their eyes. At 6:15, I called Isabella. Her phone went straight to voicemail. I tried Mom, same result. Finally, Dad picked up on the third ring. "Hey, Francis," he said, sounding way too casual. I could hear foreign chatter in the background. "Where are you guys?" I asked. There was a long pause, and then laughter. "Oh, didn't we tell you? We're in Barcelona. We decided to take Isabella on a real birthday trip." The world stopped spinning. I felt like I was suffocating. The room that was once filled with hope now felt like a prison. The cake, the decorations, everything I'd worked so hard for was for nothing. I opened my mouth to say something, but no words came out. The DJ started to pack up his equipment, and the waitstaff asked if they should cancel the reservation. I nodded slowly and whispered, "Please donate the food." I walked over to the table set for my family. The empty chairs seemed to mock me. I placed the photo frame in the middle, a picture of us as kids, laughing at the beach. I wanted that happiness back, but all I heard was my father's cruel words repeating in my head. I turned off my phone and walked out of the venue. The night air was cold, but I didn't shiver. I just walked, knowing that I couldn't let them break me. A week later, the calls started coming in. One after another, 36 missed calls in an hour. Mom, Dad, Isabella. Their names lighting up my phone screen like a warning. I didn't answer. I sat on my couch, the silence in my apartment only broken by the hum of the fridge. I typed a message and sent it. "I'm very busy." Then I turned my phone off and took a deep breath. That week, I started preparing myself. I gathered all my bank statements, receipts, and emails related to the party. Every expense, from the venue deposit to the DJ fee, was carefully organized in a folder. I knew they would come, and I was ready. When they finally showed up at my door, Mom's face was red with anger. "You've embarrassed our family. Everyone's talking about it," she shouted. Dad crossed his arms and said, "You can't just walk away after causing all this mess." Isabella stood behind them, looking annoyed. "You made me look bad in front of my friends," she said. They had no idea what I'd done. 2 days earlier, I'd sent an email to every relative, neighbor, and Isabella's friends. I attached photos of the empty venue, the untouched cake, and the sad, empty chairs. No explanations, just the truth. The subject line read, "The party I planned alone." By the next morning, the news had spread like wildfire. My parents' perfect image in the community started to crumble. Neighbors stopped greeting them, and my cousins messaged me, shocked at what had happened. Isabella's friends unfollowed her on social media, and screenshots of their unkind messages were all over the internet. I didn't gloat. Instead, I focused on myself. I received an email from Lily telling me about a photography course that still had a spot. Without hesitation, I applied. While my parents were busy defending themselves, I was booking a one-way ticket to Seattle. I found a small studio apartment near the art school. My aunt, Clara, offered to let me stay with her until I got settled. Every night, I packed up my old life, one box at a time. The walls of my apartment were getting emptier, but my heart felt lighter. The day before I left, they came to my apartment again, this time even angrier. Mom threw a folder on the table. "You stole money from our family savings," she accused. I calmly opened my folder and handed it to the police officer who was with them. He scanned the papers and said, "All expenses were from her personal account. There's no theft here." Dad's face turned red, and Mom stammered an apology. Isabella just rolled her eyes and said, "You're so dramatic." I smiled faintly and said, "Maybe, but I'm also free." That night, I packed my last box. I took out my old camera, the one I'd hidden away for years. I wiped the dust off the lens and took a picture of the city lights outside my window. The picture was blurry, but it was real, just like the new me. When I woke up the next morning, my phone was buzzing non-stop with missed calls. I didn't even check who it was. I brewed a cup of coffee, watched the steam rise, and smiled. They finally realized they couldn't reach me. Not because I was far away, but because I'd stopped waiting for them to see me. At the airport, as I boarded the plane, I felt a sense of liberation. I looked out of the window as Savannah faded into the distance. I knew that this was the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter where I put myself first. Aunt Clara was waiting for me at the Seattle airport with a big hug and a warm smile. "Welcome home, Frances," she said. And for the first time in a long time, the word home didn't feel like a burden. It felt like the start of a new adventure. Weeks passed, and the calls from my family stopped. The silence that once scared me now brought me peace. One rainy evening, I stood on a bridge in downtown Seattle, looking at the city lights reflected in the water. It reminded me of that party, but this time, there was no pain, only gratitude for the freedom I'd found. So, if you've ever had to walk away from people who took you for granted, share your story in the comments. What did you choose for yourself? And don't forget to subscribe, because sometimes the best revenge isn't anger, it's finding your own peace.